So now we're going to take a look at that classic superset formula. For this superset formula, we're looking at metabolic conditioning. We're looking at muscular endurance. So for the formula for this one, I've selected 2 exercises. And the 2 exercises, the first exercise is predominantly working the front side of my body, my anterior chain of fascia, if you will. And the movement is inspired by working and stretching and stressing that front side. Then the second exercise is then working through the back side, my posterior chain of fascia. Now, by working the anterior and the posterior with 2 separate exercises, what it should mean is that I'm not gathering too much fatigue in exercise number 1 for then exercise number 2. So I should be able to therefore maintain a pretty consistent pace between the 2 exercises back to back for as long as possible. And what I would do if I was doing this pair of exercises is that I would set a time limit. I would set my clients or myself, if I'm looking at getting some extra metabolic conditioning in or endurance, that I would set myself a 15-minute target. I'm going to set myself a 15-minute target and see how many rounds that I can get done of this exercise. So we're looking at minimal rest time. That means go again as soon as you can with good quality exercise. Remember, the movement quality has always got to be number 1. If it's not done well, it's not worth doing at all. So I'm going to be working exercise number 1, then number 2, then number 1, then number 2, with as little rest as possible for that total amount of time. I'm going to be recording my rounds as I go so that I make sure that when I come back to it, I've got something to aim for. So the 2 exercises that I'm going to be looking at, the first one is a squat to press, otherwise known as a thruster, using the dumbbells, and it looks like this. So I'm looking at doing about 15 repetitions. I think I've done about 12 or so now. Last couple of repetitions here, and then when I hit 15 of those, I'm now going to switch straight in to the second exercise, which is my deadlift row. Hip hinge with that row, now working through the back side of the body a little more. Again, I'm going to go for about 15 repetitions here. Once I've done 15 repetitions on this exercise, then with as little rest as possible, I'm going to go back to exercise number 1. Now, there will come a point where, as you can tell, I'm breathing, so it's working that metabolic demand, but there's going to come a point where, in between sets, I'm going to have to take a little longer. So that's why I use the phrase minimum. I don't want to set specific. I probably don't want to be working or resting more than a minute in between exercises. So if you find that your clients are needing more than a 1 minute rest in between exercises, then we need to have a little think about the loading. So for this particular pair of exercises, I know that with both exercises, this is between about 30 and 40% of what my maximum load. So this is about a 3 to a 4 out of 10 as far as effort for 1 repetition. So I'm thinking if it's about 30-40% effort, I can pretty much keep that going for a period of time. As you can tell, building heart rate, building that metabolic demand, and certainly starting to feel the muscles wake up and talk to me. But I can continue that over and over again for a decent period of time. Now you can set it as, like I said, a time frame and try and challenge that time frame when you come back to it. Or you could simply work for a number of rounds. It could be that you say, okay, I'm going to do 5 rounds of that pair as quickly as possible and time it. And again, then I've got a target to come back to, something that shows that I'm improving, something that shows that your clients are improving every time they come back to it. So have a think, particularly when we're looking at superset training with the endurance and the metabolic side, think about challenging your clients in that way. Get them to work towards scores, get them to work towards a repetition count maybe. Give them something, give them a value to work towards to allow them to work harder and improve session on session.